All right. This is Flint Wrestling. This is episode one. I'm based out of Flint, Michigan. My name is Ray Asensio. A lot of people call me Ray Dog. It's just a nickname. It's not a name I gave myself. Let me see. When I was little, like in grade school, my sister, my dad, and a couple of my cousins called me Ray Dog all the time, which I hated that name. When I was a kid, I hated that name. But that's what everybody calls me. I even got the Ray Dog, can't hardly see it, but yeah, I got the Ray Dog tattoo right there. I got about close to 30 years ago. This is primarily just a professional wrestling YouTube channel. I know the title says Flint Wrestling. I don't want that to be misconstrued with amateur wrestling, because this is not an amateur wrestling YouTube channel. I'm not an amateur wrestler, so I won't really be covering any amateur wrestling unless like a friend of mine has a kid or a grandkid that's gonna maybe enter a big tournament or something. Of course, I'm gonna promote that. But this is primarily this is all professional wrestling, 90 to 95% of it. And the reason I say 90 to 95% of it, because if my Michigan Wolverines are in a big game in football or basketball, I'll touch upon that for a couple of minutes. My Pistons team, I'm hoping they turn it around a little bit. I might talk about them for a couple of minutes at a time. Yankee baseball, I'm a big Yankee fan. I love my boxing, big boxing fan. Probably going to start a different YouTube channel that's just boxing only. But this is professional wrestling from the golden era, 80s and 90s. I'm Vince McMahon all day long, twice on Sunday. Love Vince now, loved him back then. He'll forever have a special place in my heart. Special place in my heart. I beg your pardon. I have to learn to talk slower here. I had another podcast in Flint called D Sweet Nation, and I had a podcast partner next to me, and I always talk fast, and then I would stutter in fear of getting cut off. So I have to kind of slow it down because I'm by myself and I don't have to worry about people cutting me off. Let me see. I've been watching wrestling since, I would say, 1981. I was 4 years old in 1981. My grandmother used to babysit me and my sister at that time. I wasn't even in kindergarten yet. And my grandmother was a big wrestling fan. She loved Hulk Hogan. So that sparked my interest into wrestling. And my early memories of wrestling, this goes before Hulk Hogan was the world champion. Bob Backlund was still around. Let me see. Superstar Billy Graham was kind of, getting ready to be done with that tenure of his WWF career. I remember the Wild Samoans. Don Morocco was Intercontinental Champion. Greg Valentine, wore that green Intercontinental belt. Those great matches he had with Ricky Steamboat and Tito Santana. Who else? Andre the Giant. I remember Andre the Giant when he still had an afro and was still running around the ring when he was, not as bad as he was, physically bad as he was in his later years, when his health started to deteriorate. And then, of course, that goes into the rock and wrestling connection, Hulk Hogan, the Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, the Junkyard Dog, Wendy Richter, when she beat the Fabulous Moolah in 1985. The Fabulous Moolah had been the women's world champion since 1956, which would have been 28 going on 29 years she had that women's title. And I remember when Wendy Richter beat her to win the title, only to get hosed later on, which was the original screw job, which is another story for another time. So in the 1980s, Jim Crockett Promotions and the NWA. I didn't follow the NWA as much as I did the WWF. I knew who all the wrestlers were. I knew about all the events and all that. There was a handful of wrestlers that I did enjoy watching the NWA, the Jim Crockett Promotions. I liked Terry Bam Bam Gordy was one of my favorites. Sting, I've always loved Sting, from the blonde hair surfer Sting to the crow Sting. I even have a scorpion tattoo on my arm in honor of Sting. People think I'm a Scorpio. but I'm not. That's an honor of Sting. I got that tattooed like the early to mid 1990s. Who else did I like in the NWA? I like Rick Steiner. Um, it seems like I'm leaving somebody out. Barry Windham was somebody I always liked too. When he was a part of the Four Horsemen, I thought that version of the Four Horsemen with Tully Arn, Barry Windham, and Ric Flair, I always thought that was the best version. A lot of people like Ole for some reason, just because that was the original Four Horsemen. But the one with Barry Windham, that really magnified what the Four Horsemen was, in my opinion. And then let me see. I stopped watching wrestling probably somewhere around like late 93, early 94, because it got too cartoonish and silly and stupid. And I didn't care for the product. Plus, I was in high school, getting a little older. At that time, I thought that I was, starting to be too good for wrestling. Like I grew out of it. That's what I thought at the time. Until Hulk Hogan turned heel at Bash at the Beach in 1996. Was watching that at my aunt's house. And anybody who's my age and loves wrestling and saw that when it happened live, only they will understand the shock value that was going on when that happened. Not just when Hogan turned heel, it's the fact that Hogan is going to be a bad guy on big stage. I know he was a bad guy in the AWA and early WWF, Classy Freddie Blassie days, but not like it was about to be now, where it was on the world stage. That was awesome, man. And then that took us to the Monday Night Wars. I was WCW Nitro 100%. Didn't watch WWF during the Monday Night Wars. If I were to watch Raw and SmackDown of the 1990s, if I were to watch all those episodes right now, I'd be seeing them, most of them, for the first time. Now, when I say I didn't watch WWF, of course, who didn't like Stone Cold Steve Austin? Of course, I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Rock, not taking away from his talent. I'm not taking away that he's a top 10 performer of all time, maybe higher. I'm not taking that away from him. I just wasn't a fan. Didn't do it for me. Shawn Michaels didn't do it for me either. I don't know if I like anybody in the dead. Taka Michinoku was okay. I didn't mind him. He was the only good wrestler in that light heavyweight division. But I was Monday Nitro. I recorded on the VHS. I recorded every Monday Nitro, and then when Thunder came on, I recorded every pay-per-view event from Sold Out to Super Brawl, Uncensored, Spring Stampede, Slamboree, the Great American Bash, Bash at the Beach, Hog Wild, which eventually became Road Wild in South Dakota, with all the fat boys there. That took us into Fall Brawl, Halloween Havoc, World War III, which I went to the one in 97, 98. I went to two of them at the Palace of Auburn Hills. And then, of course, the big one, Starrcade in December. I recorded all of them for years. I even watched Nitro in the late, the dark years when it was, when Time Warner and AOL took over. The Vince Russo ran, if that's what you want to call it, Monday Nitro. We all knew that they were on the outs, but I watched it anyway until they folded in March of 2001. And then again, when Nitro folded, I think I took another couple of years off of wrestling all in general. I did watch during that time when I took a couple of years off again, I did watch when Eric Bischoff was named general manager of SmackDown, which was another oh shit moment. Like I said earlier, the shock value. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And only people who were 100% invested into the Monday Night Wars understand what was, no, not understand. They were equally as confused and were like, what the hell? When Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff were hugging, when these two guys were literally trying to kill each other. Not kill each other literally, but hated each other. And it was a real hate, like shoot type of hate. That was unbelievable. So I was watching Raw a little bit just because Eric Bischoff was on there. Now, let me see. My kids were born in the early 2000s. So that decade, probably around like 04, 05, 06-ish, um, I got back into wrestling because my kids and I watched it together. My son Raymond loved Jeff Hardy. He loved Jeff Hardy so much. He used to take paper. He used to cut paper, and he used to tape with Scotch tape a piece of paper around his arm, and he used to take a crayon where it looked like Jeff Hardy's armbands. He used to wear that to school like that with that paper around his arms because he wanted to be like Jeff Hardy. My son Alex loved Rey Mysterio and Batista. And my daughter Rella, who at the time she was a big wrestling fan at the time, she loved Michelle McCool, Christian, and Brie Bella. Those were her favorites. We all had our little favorites and stuff. So the best time of my life watching wrestling was when I was watching wrestling with my kids, man. The four of us lived together because I raised them for quite a long time. And every Monday and Friday, man, pizza and wrestling at the Asensio house, man. We would eat pizza and watch our wrestling and cheer for our wrestlers, man. We loved it. We loved every minute of it. And then let me see. Getting into a little more modern times now, I would say probably since like 2014, 2015-ish, maybe 2016, maybe. I never really watched NXT. I didn't watch NXT a whole lot, but when like Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks, when they had the revolution that Stephanie McMahon said was going to go on, and she brought those three that I just mentioned, and she said, it starts today. I'm a big fan of the women's revolution. I love it. I'm not your typical like male wrestling fan who only love women wrestlers because they're sexy, and I don't go on social media and post pictures of like women wrestlers bending over and in all these sexual positions and say all that dumb shit. I'm not that guy. I love the lady talent for what they are, which is very talented, great storylines. I think they're the best in the world at what they do, and they're just a joy to watch. Like if you were to ask me who my top 10 wrestlers of all time are, it would be a mixture of men and women. I don't do men over here and women over here. It's just a mixture. Same thing with the tag team. Could be 3 men tag teams and 2 women. Could be 3 women, 2 men. Could be 4 and 1. Men and women are the same in wrestling to me. I treat them all the same. As I've gotten older, I'm 44 now. I'll be 45 in a couple weeks. My birthday's coming up. I share a birthday with Penelope Ford, by the way. I don't watch AEW, but I know Penelope Ford. Penelope Pit Stop, as Jim Cornette calls her. But I do like Ruby Soho of AEW. Big fan of hers. And that's because I was a fan of the Riot Squad. Big fan of the Riot Squad. Sarah Logan, Liv Morgan, and at the time, Ruby Riot, what they called her at the time. And I love all 3 of them equally. I saw Sarah Logan, who goes by her real name now, Sarah Rowe. Me and my buddies went to Detroit back in mid-May, and we were at the Harpo's Music Theater. Old music. It looks older than the Apollo in New York. We watched Sarah Rowe wrestle, and she just stole the show. It was the best match of the night. She still got it. She still got skills. She talked on the microphone afterwards and thanked the fans and acknowledged her family. Big fan of Sarah Rowe, man. Her YouTube channel, Roseboard TV. I also love Ruby Soho. At the time, she was Ruby Riot, had a YouTube channel called Hooligans Unite, which I love. And Liv Morgan at that time also had a YouTube channel, which she went by Gianna Daddio, which is her real name. That was the name of her YouTube channel. Big fan of those 3 ladies. Obviously, I'm ecstatic that, Liv Morgan's the SmackDown Ladies Champion right now. Another shock moment when she cashed in that Money in the Bank and beat Ronda Rousey. And there's some, I could take a shot at some fans right now. I'm gonna wait till later episodes to do. I'm not gonna do that just yet. I'm just I'm just letting you know where I stand on pro wrestling. That's who I am, man. I love my professional wrestling, love my Michigan Wolverines, love my Detroit Pistons, and I'm a New York Yankee guy. Boxing fan also. Born and raised in Flint, Michigan, Flint Central High School, class of 1995. I had a podcast here in Flint for 3 years called the D Sweet Nation. My buddy Dan Hutchinson, he was my producer and technical support guy, did a great job. That is also on YouTube. D Sweet, that's DEESWEET Nation, D Sweet Nation. If you ever want to, that's more of a sports podcast. It's not just a wrestling one. We did have Rohit Raju on our show one time, which was a great interview. But no, this channel I got here is just going to be professional wrestling. Big supporter of the independent circuit. I don't have my regular Facebook page anymore. I got rid of that because I don't do the politics shit. I don't do politics. Okay, I love my country. I love my country. Love where I'm from. I'd do it all over again. It's the greatest country in the world. I think Joe Biden and Donald Trump are both pieces of shit. They both are. I'm not taking sides on the other one. So if something goes on in this country where this side is fighting this side, I'll be one of the ones in the stands just watching you all do whatever to each other. I don't like either of them idiots. But anyways, enough of the politics. Not talking no politics on here anymore. But I don't have my regular Facebook page anymore. I dumped that about a month or two ago because of the constant politics that people are always talking on there. And I have another Facebook page, but it's really just a wrestling. It's just a wrestling page. Mostly independent wrestlers on there. My brother is on my page, but it's just really independent wrestling. I support all the indie circuits all over the country. Getting to know some of the other ones, or it's not some of the other ones. There's a shit ton of them that I'm learning about. Chatted online with some people, talk some indie wrestling. I'm even going to try to get. There's some people that want to travel cross country and wrestle in Michigan. I know a couple of people, a couple promoters around here, where I can make a couple phone calls and watch these people wrestling. And I will plug any independent wrestling promotion on here. So anybody that is watching this, that wrestles or they manage or they're a referee or whatever, you know what my name is on my Facebook. Just private message me. Any kind of shout out, I'll be glad to do it. Glad to do it for you. And if you ever want to talk, via Zoom, or if me and my buddy Randy are ever in your hometown, we could do a podcast interview there. But I support all the independents, pro wrestling. Like I said, I'm not an AEW fan. I support them too, though. I want them to succeed because they're still professional wrestlers, and I respect the hell out of them. So that's basically what this page is. After this episode, I'll pretty much be on topics. I might do a couple watch alongs. I might have a match playing, and I might just analyze it, break it down, and talk whatever. Clash at the Castle is next week, so I'll be doing a show, talking about the matches and reviewing the matches, and I might give some predictions on there. Of course, I'm going to be biased towards Liv Morgan. I'm gonna, say she's going to win every time. Let me tell you who. Okay, as far as modern day wrestlers, let me tell you some of the wrestlers that I like today. Liv Morgan, obviously. Ruby Soho at AEW. That's the only AEW wrestler I like. So let me see. WWE, I like Liv Morgan. I like the Street Profits. I like how they wear the different basketball jerseys for whatever town they're in. Let me see. Viking Raiders. Big fan of the Viking Raiders. They're creeping up to my top 5 tag teams of all time. I just like how I like the Viking thing. I know the Berserker, I know he did a Viking gimmick back in the late 80s, early 90s, but he wasn't a real Viking. That was just a gimmick. Now, he is one of the tough guys from Robbinsdale, Minnesota. If you guys want to look up Robbinsdale High School in Minnesota, look at the professional wrestlers that came out of there, you're going to recognize about 15 names on there because most of them are in the Hall of Fame. He's a tough guy. pretty well, every wrestler is a tough guy, even if you don't like them. There's only 3 wrestlers that ever wrestled in my lifetime that I believe I could beat the shit out of in a real fight. Only 3. So the rest of the 950,000 wrestlers on there could tie me into knots. But there's three guys I'll beat the shit out of if I ever came across them. Well, not sucker punch style. I'm just saying if they ever, I almost want to name who they are, but I don't want to step on anybody's toes because they might be their favorite wrestlers. Oh, hell with it. I'll fucking name them anyway. Fucking hate the Honky Tonk Man. Anybody who ever says that they like the Honky Tonk Man and when they use the term the greatest intercontinental champion of all time, that says all that I need to know about you. Now, the Honky Tonk Man, I couldn't kick his ass because he was trained by Herb Welch. You know, Herb Welch is from the famous Welch brothers, the shooters from back in the early part of the 20th century. So Honky has to be some kind of tough. If he was trained by him, he has to be. So I couldn't do nothing with Honky Tonk Man in a real fight. As far as frog face Miz, he wouldn't stand a chance. And now Juventud Guerrera, I love Juventud Guerrera, all the luchadors and WCW back in the mid to late 1990s, the cruiserweight division. Fan of pretty much all of them. I don't think Juventud could take me. I don't know. I could be wrong. But anyways, those are just, oh God, I can't leave Natalia out. I don't like Natalia either. I'm not going to say nothing about kicking her ass or nothing like that. But my friends know that I am not a fan of Natalia. More on that on another episode. I'm not going to get into the Natalia stuff now, but I have my opinions on her. And I think a big reason why I'm not a fan of Natalia, it's got nothing to do with her wrestling ability. She's a great wrestler, one of the greatest of all time. I don't know about the boat. That's a dumb name, boat. Does that mean you're wide as a boat or best of all time? There's no such thing. You can't make up terms, and you're not the boat anyway. But I made a mistake and watched those reality shows and Total Divas that she was on. I know she was on some Total Bellas episodes, and I got sucked into that crap. And God, Natalia, oh my God, I've never in my life ever had anybody get on my nerves the way that she got on my nerves. I should not have watched any of that stuff. I cannot stand Natalia. I think she's taken up roster space. She's still a good wrestler. You know, she's in her 40s now. You know, she looks older, but she's still a great wrestler. I don't know how many layers of clothing she wears to cover up whatever it is that she's trying to cover up. But every time I look at her now, all I see is Hugh Morris. I see Hugh Morris when I see her now. You old heads will know who Hugh Morris is. That's Bill DeMott, the guy that trains a lot of the wrestlers now. Let me see. Another thing that I'm into today when I'm on the road, because I drive an expedite van, so I'm always over the road traveling the Midwest, sometimes East Coast, sometimes I go down south, but I listen to my podcasts all the time. Jim Cornette obviously has a lot of good shows, the Experience, the Drive-Through. Now, I don't agree with 100% of the stuff he says like all his fans do, because, you know, he's always trending on Twitter that he's always talking about. And I'm a Jim Cornette fan, but I'm not a cult member. Sometimes I like what he says. Sometimes he just sounds like an idiot. Yeah, definitely one of the, you know, best minds in the history of wrestling. You know, he is to wrestling like what John Madden was to football, what Hubie Brown is to NBA basketball, what Al Bernstein is to boxing. That's what Jim Cornette is to wrestling. But I don't agree with some of the stuff he says. A lot of stuff I do agree with, and I think he's very entertaining, and I love to listen to him. Let me see. I love Something to Wrestle With. I like Bruce Pritchard's podcast. Let me see. 83 Weeks, big fan of. I love Arn Anderson's podcast. God, I feel like I'm leaving someone out. God, forgive me if I'm leaving somebody out, but I love my wrestling podcasts and shoot interviews, and and all that other good stuff. It's cool to hear about the golden era of wrestling and how things were like behind the scenes in the locker room, getting in fights at the bar, and obviously we've heard all those Haku stories and Dr. Death Steve Williams, Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen, Harley Race, Ron Simmons, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I love all those stories, man. And I pretty much believe everything that I hear on there, because you hear a lot of other wrestlers that were, eyewitnesses to a lot of this stuff, and all their stories always match up. So there has to be some truth to pretty much all of that. But yeah, that's all this is, man. This is really just an introduction, just a little bit about me. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section. I don't expect everybody to agree with everything I say on here. If you do, great. If you have any opinions on here, like I said, leave it in the comment section. Subscribe to my Flint Wrestling. If you're an independent wrestler, or if you're a promoter, or if you have anything to do with any kind of professional wrestling, whether you're in Japan, Norway, Denmark, South Africa, WCW, WWE. There I go again, man, losing my mind. WWE, AEW, and every independent wrestling promotion all across the globe, primarily in the United States, because I live in Michigan. Let me know, man. PM me if you're a Facebook friend of mine, and you want me to talk about a match that you're coming up in. I would, I would love to do my research on you and talk about you, man. I'm a good hype man. Love my professional wrestling. So that's going to be it for episode 1. This is first time I've ever done something like this. I'm not a technical person, but once I get the hang of this stuff, though, I'm gonna have episode after episode after episode, because I really don't do anything. I don't hang out at the bars. I can't say that I don't drink at all, because I will have a beer or two once in a great while. Not a smoker. I don't smoke cigarettes. Never have. Don't do any kind of drugs. Just average person, man. I'm just like you. I get up in the morning, drink my coffee. I hit the road, usually home anywhere between 4 and 8 o'clock, and just sit home, man. Just a simple man. Go for my walks with my buddy Randy. What else? That's about it, man. And other than that, I'll be home. I'll be doing a lot of episodes, covering a lot of matches, a lot of wrestlers, a lot of fun stuff, man. So this is Flint Wrestling. Like and subscribe. Leave any all comments are welcome. Hope you enjoy the show, and I will be talking to you again soon. Okay, go Blue.